Hi, I'm Jennifer Potter, Executive Director of Be Well Texas. Too many people are struggling alone these days, and alcohol and drug deaths are increasing. We started Be Well Texas to offer high-quality, science-based addiction treatment and recovery services anywhere, virtually or in person. In many cases, there is no cost for treatment or medications if you don't have insurance. Really. Welcome to Be Well Texas. We're glad you're here. Visit bewelltexas.org.
Welcome to another episode of March to the Pod, presented by Eternal Roofing. It is it's a podcast that will not apologize for a victory. We will not do that. We are going to recap this 9-3 Cats win over La Tech in what's got to be one of the worst American football games ever played on so many levels, so many things to discuss with this, and few of them are good, to be honest with you. Like, let's be real today. But we're going to bring it to you. We want to hear your comments. We will take your comments, and we will discuss this offense and defense together, because there was something positive tonight. You have to have positive if you're going to get a victory. I'm your host and producer, Cory Hogue, the non-FBS insider at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Find me on your favorite social media channel at Cory Hogue Sports. That's all one word, CoryHogue Sports. The knowledge of this show is provided by the creator and manager of sports of SHSU. Again, all one word. On Twitter and Instagram, he's the chief operating officer of the Cat Fund and proud Bearcat alum, Ben Sorrells. And Ben, we might as well let's just get into this, okay? We're just going to get started on this recap. We're not even going to pretend. La Tech tonight had 4 possessions. Four. I really have a hard time. 4 times they were at the Cats' 6-yard line. We're closer, and they got 3 points. 0.7. That is almost statistically impossible, Ben.
Yeah, unless you're facing the Sam Houston defense. And the Sam Houston offense wasn't much better in their own right when they got in the red zone.
No, they weren't good, and we're definitely going to get into all of that. Yeah. But look, the first quarter, I don't even know if the Cats had the ball. I didn't have power part of the time too, but I don't think they had the ball much. La Tech really controlled it, but again, they got down in there and only got 3 points out of it, and then the Cats got on the board with this Kendrick DuJour a sack. Or we're going to remove it from there and play it over here. Good job, producer. Look at this. I don't think volume is working on that. And video is working. And so, without audio and you're on a podcast, that really doesn't go well. So we're just going to add it back to the stage here. Let me turn it on this way. See if it has... Well, now the video is not even working. This is going the way the game went. That's basically what's happening right now. Okay.
The job gets done, but it's not pretty.
It's not pretty. It's not been pretty. Wow. This is okay. Well, let's just describe this then. All right. They're lined up in the 4-man. You have a quarterback in the end zone, drops back, looks left, and by the way, DuJour just beat the left tackle right there, which was a common theme tonight. The Cats' defensive line ate up the left tackle, and goodness, Ben, I mean, that right there was just kind of a precursor to what was going to be the rest of a wild and crazy night.
Yeah, and just to hit on Kendrick Dior, guy coming from JUCO, had a big year at NC Central last year, which is a pretty quality FCS team, and he's had some very high highs this year and some low lows, and tonight was definitely one of the highs. Obviously, there with the big sack for the safety, he had another sack in the second half. He's a guy that seems like he's primarily in there on passing downs. I didn't think that would be a passing down for Louisiana Tech, but I guess we knew what they were doing. It was a passing play, and it worked out well. So he had 2 sacks tonight. I think it was the Hawaii game. He also had 2 sacks earlier this year, and he's really flashed at times. I mean, and going into next year, assuming he's still here, a guy that puts on a little weight, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And so he was just a number of guys there on the D line that had a really big night tonight.
He was. He had a few nights. And by the way, yes, I know it's the your, but I like to du jour because, you know, I am who I am. But anyway, he had a huge night. There were multiple times he was in there, big plays on the quarterback. A really good night for him. It was 3-2 after the first inning.
The baseball game had a little more scoring at the time.
It did. Like at the time, I was like, "Oh my God, they've got like 6 runs and we've got 5 points." So it was 3-2 after the first quarter. Let's see if we can get Caleb Weaver's interception to work for us here. Again, we have no audio. Quarterback rolls right, throws a pass, and you know, Ben, when you look at this one, that was a zone play, and yeah.
Well, and I think the quarterback, I mean, it wasn't a great throw, but he maybe had the right idea if he kind of lofts it a little bit more and maybe puts it towards the corner.
Yes.
But Weaver just made a great play there. I mean, just an incredible play.
It was. And listen, one of the things we will discuss is the fact that La Tech had a freshman quarterback in the game. And you know what? He wasn't horrible.
He's been good for him the last few weeks. He carved up Middle Tennessee and looked decent the other 2 games.
Yeah, he wasn't horrible. And when he does this, when he looks back at this tape right here, and if you're watching live, you can see where it is. He just didn't put enough air under this. He threw more of a bullet pass rather than trying to fit it over the linebacker. And Caleb Weaver, with great leaping ability, made a fantastic play.
And can we I mean, we got to talk about Caleb Weaver a little bit. I mean, the Javon Leons, the Kavian Gaithers, Chris Murray's get a lot of love, but Caleb Weaver might be the leader for Defensive Player of the Year in this conference. Coming into this week, he was tied for first in interceptions. He's now number 1. He was 4th in pass breakups, and he was 8th in total tackles. And then tonight went and had 10 tackles and led the team and had another interception. And so, I mean, when you talk about one of the best defensive players in this conference, you've got to talk about Caleb Weaver. And I think he's firmly in the mix to maybe be Defensive Player of the Year in this conference.
It's something else we're going to talk about here in depth is the lack of execution from the offense. That is something we'll go into quite a bit. There was a lot of instances of that happening, and it was a very, very nasty looking 3-2 game at the half. Then in the second half, let's see if this one's going to work. Jay Ducker broke free, and Ben, he scared us all at the end of this, but at the end of the day, it was a touchdown.
Tucker, right up the middle. Here he goes. Jay Tucker cuts it back. Sam Houston. Tucker scores. Touchdown, Bearcats. 40-yard run.
40-yard touchdown run for Ducker. And when you look at this one, the first thing is after the snap here, Ben, and, you know, they're playing really too high safety. It's on 1st and 10. When you see too high safety, you're going to run the football. That's just today's game. And so they've got 2 high safeties. They go to run this play, and the entire defense seems to go left. And that leaves the option play. And I really want to talk about this one right here, this handoff. That was Watson still in the game at this point before he left with injury. There is a free defender who has who is so worried about Watson's ability to run that he goes for the quarterback instead of the running back. And that proved costly because the rest of this play was blocked beautifully. Then Ducker makes a move, another move, and right about the 6-yard line, I went, oh my God.
Yes.
Oh my God. Of course.
He was just trying to make it a little more interesting than it already was.
He made it too darn interesting.
And then they hit the duck celebration.
Yes, no, that was good. And the entire team did it too. I thought that was great seeing the offensive line do that. That gave the Cats a 9-3 lead. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of our recap of this game. That is how that game ended. Sam Houston is 7-2. That's what matters. And you know, we're going to come over here and we're going to go. Jay Plotkin says a win is a win. Doesn't matter how you get it. And Ben, at the end of the day, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, we said it last week. We'll say it again. And no matter how the win looks, I mean, a win is a win, especially in conference play on a Tuesday night.
Yes. Well, like Tuesday night. And we talked about this a little bit on text. Yes, it's ugly. But if you remember back over the years when the Sun Belt, and they were on again tonight, apparently Texas State was in an ugly game too. I wasn't paying attention to that one. But when you look back at the history of midweek games, Tuesday and Wednesday games, it's not good.
No. And
it's not.
We talked about it too. The body is just not used to Tuesday and Wednesday football, no matter how much you try to train it to do so.
Yeah, no, it's not, right? It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right as a fan. It doesn't feel right as a player. And yeah, I get it. You try to say, well, this is Saturday. It's really not. Your body knows better. Yeah. So I think that's a lot of it here. And then Jason Plotkin, Sonny Cumbie is 9-23, 6-15 in Conference USA. Thank God I'm not we're not that blue podcast over there.
Yeah.
Because I think they're going to be talking about a probable coaching change coming up, to be honest with you.
And you want to bring up the second comment from, what is it, Texarkana? I'll hit on that.
Yes. Yeah, right here we'll start with it. So glad we still have a defense after the coaching change.
Yeah, and this is something I want to hit on. Obviously, Joe Morris and Clayton Carlin the last handful of years did a great job, but I think schematically it was time for a change. And they knew what they had with Skylar Cassidy. And I think once they knew what they had there was even a chance to probably upgrade schematically and what you could do from a recruiting perspective, and what Cassidy has done by putting just an incredible staff together, really young staff, a lot of energy, really recruits well. And so it wasn't surprising to see the defense play this way. And it's not surprising to see them perform well this year. I mean, Skylar Cassidy is a stud at what he does and is very good.
Oh, definitely. Skylar is tremendous. And look, Keith Patterson over at Emily Christian tried to hide him for as long as possible, but he knew eventually he was going to be gone. And you know, that defense tonight, 7-16, they held La Tech to on third downs. You know, that may be a little bit, that's a few more than you'd like to see. It's a little closer to 50%, but they were 0 for 4 on fourth downs. And more importantly, rather than stand back there and have one guy waving bye to the fans during a Hail Mary play while you only rush like 3 guys and have a QB spy, like the Bears tried to pull the other day on the Commanders.
Yeah.
Rather than doing that, Cassidy is aggressive, and he's going to come at you and make you make quick decisions on those big plays. And that's the kind of defense that tends to thrive.
Yeah. I mean, he is aggressive, and I mean, he's right. He's right there on the sideline. I know a lot of defensive coordinators are there on the sideline, but he's one of the more animated coaches on the sideline, even though he is a coordinator. He's running up and down the field, walking around Keeler, calling plays. I mean, he gets after it there on the sideline, just like his defense does. Yeah.
And so Texarkana said, called it last week. He's gone, talking about Sonny Cumbie. Yeah. You know, that offense, and not that Sam Houston's playing a much better offense. So let's get into that first, the Grim Recycler, and what a name to have this time of year.
Yeah. Halloween.
Yeah. Thank God Hunter has 2 weeks to get healthy. All right, Ben, we're going to deep dive into this offense here. The first question, and I was on the Cat Fans forums at times tonight, so I was seeing a lot of that. So the first thing I want to address, the first thing I want to address is I'm wearing navy blue. I am not wearing black. Okay, and I know some people out there calling for me to like get in with the theme of the night, but listen, until the football team is wearing black on a blackout night, how can you expect any damn body else to wear black?
I mean, the fans that were there tonight, I don't know what the announced attendance is. I'll have to look it up, but everybody was in black. It looked like.
Yeah, no, they did great with
cool.
it. But if the football team's not in it, the announced attendance, by the way, was 9,128. And on camera, it looked good because the visiting side. But when you saw photos of the home side, you could tell that might be stretching it a bit.
Yeah, I mean, the student section showed out from what it looked like. They really showed out, which they should. This is kind of their time to show out in the midweeks. And on the weekends, we know the alumni kind of step up. But good on them for showing up. I think about 9,000 is pretty reasonable. It may be a little inflated, but I think that's pretty close to what it was.
And again, that football team would look sweet in black jerseys with white numbers and orange outline, right? Like it would look, you might be able to get by with orange numbers. You'd have to have a really good white outline to set it apart so it could be seen. But the black helmet with the orange logo with a white around it outline, I just think it would be awesome.
And you know the only team at Sam Houston that doesn't have a black jersey?
The football team.
Both basketball, softball, baseball, soccer, volleyball.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Also, I would wear a black Sam Houston hat, baseball hat, like they wear on field, but they don't sell them, so I don't have them.
Yeah, and I sent you one, and I was like, "This is close," and you're like, "Close isn't going to cut it," or something like that.
No, I'm picky. When it comes to hats. I mean, I have a little bit of a collection, but I'm picky about it.
Yeah,
close is nice. Close ain't the real thing sometimes.
Nope.
But let's get into the offense here. And there's a mixture of things. I know on the Cat Fans forum, let's start with the offensive coordinator. How much of this, especially in this game tonight, are you going to put on Brad Cornelsen?
I think some of it has to be put on him. I don't think all of it can be. I feel like this offense is pretty consistent from what we saw the first 6 games of the season. The execution just hasn't been great. But at the same time, if the team isn't executing what you're calling and what has worked in the past, it's time to try to find something new. And so I think that's where I think part of the blame is. I don't think the game plan is really that much different from what we saw up through the UTEP game. But obviously some other teams have picked up on whatever it is that we're doing, and it's time to adjust. And so you've got 18 days now going into Kennesaw with the final 3 games coming up after the 18-day break. And so hopefully you can kind of find a new wrinkle to get back on track. And so that's kind of my thoughts on it.
And I saw some fans were talking about how, if the short 3 to 5 yard passing game is getting you some yards and working, why are you dropping back and trying to go deep? And that, there is some validity to it, but you also can't just throw 3 to 5 yard passes because the defense is going to break on one of those, and then they're going to take it to the house.
Yeah. And I was going to say it was working there with Noah Smith. We got him really involved on that one drive, and things were really moving. I think that might have been the drive where I think we stalled out in Louisiana Tech territory there in the second half. You got Noah Smith very involved, and then it just felt like you never went back to him again. And so it felt like you had something, and then you just kind of went back, or you went away from it.
And there's something else. It's not all coaching. There is definitely a percentage that is, but tonight especially, it was not all coaching. The execution, the focus of the offense was just not there. Whether it be a snap that's mishandled or missed, whether it be throws that are thrown way too short and stopping drives, whether it be missing a block. missing a ball, whether it be just fumbling for whatever reason. The execution from the players tonight was definitely not up to par either.
Yeah, and there's a handful of plays that come to mind already. The first drive, you got Elijah Sohn wide open right at the marker. If you hit him, he's able to take it a couple yards upfield, and you kind of short arm it to him. He's got to fall forward, and he's a yard short. So execution there. You had the I think it was like the third down there in the red zone where you threw the slant in the end zone. It gets tipped. Probably shouldn't have thrown it. I was okay with the throw, but I mean, it probably wasn't the best read, but it gets tipped. They pick it off. Could have at least tried to get a field goal there. Would have been like a 35-yarder. You had the Michael Phoenix play where he breaks 3 tackles and then fumbles it. Looked like he was going to be close to a first down there. And then you had another drive in the first half where you were moving, I think at about the 35-yard line, and it's a snap that goes past Hunter Watson's feet. So, I mean, that's a handful of plays right there that killed drives and took points off the board. And then you also had a 42-yard field goal missed. So you had another drive that got into Louisiana Tech territory, but you couldn't convert on it. So play calling is definitely part of it, but execution is definitely part of it as well.
Yes. Yeah, it is. And again, some of the execution is coaching, throughout the week, but that just, everything was off. It's not just one part right there. And I get it. Last week, the offense looked bad with Jace Bauer. This week, it looks bad with Hunter Watson until he got injured. Yes, he's the better option at quarterback, but my concern right now at this point, Ben, is I know he's a big kid. I know he can run the ball. I know he likes to run the ball, but maybe that's got to dial back some, or maybe occasionally slide. Right? Let's maybe slide because you just can't take rib shots like he was taking.
Yeah, someone asked him asked Keeler that question during the presser because obviously Watson got hurt on a run against Western Kentucky. If they're considering trying to limit him in the run game, and I think now you might kind of have to in the run game, whether it be maybe we look at more of an option kind of run game towards the outside with some more pitches. Kind of RPO game, maybe trying to get him to slide more, whatever it is. I think you still want him to use his legs, but you got to find a way to keep him safe because you need him, obviously. And I think the team honestly moved the ball pretty well tonight at points in the second and third quarter specifically. I think they had 140 or 150 yards alone in the third quarter. And so I think they were starting to try to find something and then he gets hurt again. But yeah, you've got to find a way to keep him healthy.
In the third quarter, it was 147 yards for Sam Houston. But, when you're looking at that and then you're talking about overall, they had 268 yards. 105 rushing. Got to get something out of that rushing attack. I think that's the thing really that has stalled a lot is that rushing attack.
Yeah, because you had those 4 straight games of 250 plus in the rushing game, and so you've got to figure out whatever it is and hope maybe the O-line's just kind of worn down some, and maybe this 18-day break can get them back on track and healthy and back to the shape they were in before. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure what it is.
It won't hurt. 18 days is a long time. Graham Recycler wants to know if we can get the kid who kicked the field goals during the timeout as a walk-on. They could recruit during timeouts.
If he's got eligibility. And back to the run game thing, we've talked about time of possession a lot. Sam Houston, the time of possession was 33-30 for Louisiana Tech, so they had the ball for about 6 more minutes than we did. And when we've been able to eat up clock, especially early in the game, it's worn on teams later, and I think we haven't been able to do that the last few weeks, which also probably doesn't help the run game.
Well, in that, again, the whole first quarter they had the ball, but that's on 2 things. You got to get the defense off the field, number 1, and number 2, the offense can't go just 3 and out on their first drive.
Right.
And if your offense goes 3 and out on your opening drive, that's a bad sign because you had all week to get that first drive going where you get a first down.
Yeah, you got to win the scripted drives. And maybe they did have a good drive put together, but obviously the throw wasn't there. Watson was maybe still trying to get his legs underneath him and get back in a rhythm. but who knows?
Yeah, so Jason Plotkin talking about the rest around the Conference USA here. So how surprised are we at FIU, what FIU did to New Mexico State? For those unaware, it was 34-17 FIU. Really, it was the second half, 27 or 27-7, I believe. Yeah, I did math right. They outscored them 27-7 the second half. Does that surprise you at all?
Not really. I think the spread was -7.5 on it. So, I mean, FIU was pretty heavily favored to begin with. I think two things. Kewan Jenkins, I think I heard he got a full week of practice in. Last week, he only went through a walkthrough the day before the game, before he started against us, and then clearly didn't have it, didn't play the second half. But you got him back. He looked much better. I think he's the top probably 3 quarterback in this league, top 3 or 4. And then number 2, no matter what league it is in college football, if you've got to travel 2 time zones, I mean, it's a struggle. I mean, no matter what it is, going from Las Cruces to Miami, that's a haul. So I think those 2 things, getting Kewan Jenkins back and healthy and then having to travel that distance, just really took a toll on New Mexico State, who I don't think is a very good team to begin with anyway.
I did, and no, they're not very good. And I did watch like the first hour before the Cats started. And what I noticed hearing that is, you want to talk about execution and a lack thereof of New Mexico State's head coach. Every time they put the camera on him, he was chewing somebody out for missing a play or this or that. Like, I mean, he's so frustrated with the lack of execution. Again, look, I can see the problems. We can all see the problems, right? But we don't know that we can fix the problems.
Yeah, and with New Mexico State, I think people are really seeing how much Jerry Kill and Diego Pavia really elevated that program. You take them away, you take a couple of other key pieces away, and they're kind of back to what New Mexico State used to be a while back. And so I'm not too surprised to see them down this year. I'm trying to find this. Here it is. So FIU has a receiver who's been very good this year, and Cat fans tweeted this out during the game, but he had 11 receptions for 295 yards and 3 touchdowns tonight for FIU. Last week against us, he had 3 catches for 42 yards. And so just another testament to the Sam Houston defense locking down one of the better players in Conference USA.
Well, and New Mexico State doesn't have the talent to just hang with him. That was pretty obvious. Hey, before we go any further, we want to make sure we give a shout out to our sponsor, our presenting sponsor here, Eternal Roofing. Very, very appreciative of them and glad to have them aboard. And let's give you a little bit about them here. They got free detailed service. They're going to give you roof inspections, no high pressure sales. They also do general contracting work. Anything you need, whether it be interior, exterior, home or business, they can do sheetrock. Of course, they're Eternal Roofing, so you know they can do that. They're specialists in commercial roofing, Hill Country, Houston area. They're the people to call. And Ben, I look, this calendar soon is going to turn to November. And so if you need Christmas lights installed, you just go ahead and get on that 25 calendar.
Yeah, you're probably not going to have much luck with the 24 calendar.
Not unless someone cancels. So if you need to get a hold of them, visit eternalroofingtx.com. And hey, while you're there at that website, go to the gallery, look at some of the projects they've done. It's tremendous work. It really is. If you're in the Montgomery County area or you'd like to call that office, it's area code 936-215-8539. If you're in the Hill Country, that office is area code 830-251-5673, or you can email Taylor at eternalroofingtx.com. We also want to remind you that we are a podcast on the Republic of Football Network and an extension of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, which reminds me of something. Please like and subscribe to the podcast and follow us on the various social media platforms, including Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at March to the Pod. It's all one word, March, the number 2, the pod. And if you're on Threads, we are the March to the Pod with the number 2. And again, all one word. So earlier when I had other work duties today, On Tuesdays, a lot of times I go to Midwestern State's football practice, right? I call it work duties.
Makes you sound important.
It's work, right? I go to practice. And so I was wearing my blue polo today. And I got home and I saw blackout. I looked down and I went, they're playing La Tech. I better go get that other shirt I was wearing earlier.
Can't be wearing the blue.
No, not at all. Yeah. So one other thing here before we get going back to some comments, and thank you so much for those, and keep those coming. We are going to get back to those, but I want to give Ben a chance to talk about one of the best things going on at Sam Houston, and that is the Cat Fund.
And we do have a lot going on. A lot of basketball stuff going on after our golf tournament and auction. We've got a lot of Took Back Texas stuff that we're going to be pushing out here in the next few weeks during the bye week. A lot of exciting football stuff going on as well. If you want to join us on this journey of helping these Sam Houston athletes, you can sign up at cat-fund.com. Lots of good stuff going on. No matter what level you're at, you get access to the exclusive content on catfans.com. We had some in there this week, basketball stuff, recapping their scrimmage at North Texas, Hunter Watson updates throughout the week we had on there. So everybody gets access to that. And then we've also got Cat Fund merch you can get at different levels, and probably going to have some raffles and giveaways coming up with some different signed merch that we've got. So lots of good stuff going on, and you definitely want to become a member.
You are sporting the Took Back Texas hat.
Yeah, and we had our first round of them shipped out the other day. So if you were in the first 30-ish orders of it, yours should be in here pretty soon.
Nice.
Yeah, so I mean, there's been a lot of orders. We opened it back up last week because we hit bowl eligibility. So I think we're at 100 plus orders now. So, but if you're in the first 30 or so, you probably should get it here within the next few days.
That's cat-fund.com. Sign up. And if you were a member, you probably didn't fall for the little Keeler okey doke today about putting Bauer as a captain.
No.
You knew what was happening, right?
Yeah, and the whole thing with that, I mean, Gunnell was a captain last week, and Keeler said before the season that 2 players were unanimously voted as captains. That was Gaither and Noah Smith. And then the other 2 captains for each week would rotate based on if you had double-digit leadership council votes. And so all 3 quarterbacks received enough votes from what he said in the preseason. So, I mean, it might have been playing mind games. It also might have just been Jace's day, but
might have just been how it worked out.
Yeah, they could have planned it all season long, but who knows?
But that tells you how he is. Like, we think that he probably sits around and has that mind to think of those things. He may. It's highly possible, and that's credit to him that we even think that highly.
Yeah, and I mean, putting Gunnell out there last week, maybe FIU thinks we're trotting Grant Gunnell out there.
Yeah, who knows, right?
Yeah.
Here we go. As we go forward, Texarkana said, I think we're in a great spot. 2 weeks to get better with a winnable game to warm up before taking on the top of the conference. These 18 days, if this team is to make a run and get into the conference championship game, these 18 days are going to play a big role in that.
Yeah, huge game. And I know he said a winnable game. I mean, we just saw Kennesaw, who is the next opponent, beat Liberty. So, I mean, you got to take them pretty seriously too. But, yeah, need to get healthy, get back on track offensively going into these final 3 games. You probably still have to win out to get into the conference title game. If you do win out, you will be there. And there's a big game tomorrow night. I mean, I know you don't always want to schedule watch when you control your own destiny, but if Liberty beats Jacksonville State tomorrow night, every team but Western Kentucky will have at least 1 loss in conference play. So that's kind of what I'm rooting for, but we still control our own destiny from here on out.
Oh yeah, look, you win out, you win these next 3 games, you're in the conference championship game. 0 questions.
Yep.
That's a great spot to be in right now.
Yeah, and I mean, that's all you can ask for. I mean, if you told us going into the final 3 games, we controlled our own destiny to a conference title game, you would definitely take it.
Definitely would. Let's take a look at these horrendous predictions that we had tonight. Vegas said it would have been 27 3/4 to 17 3/4. A 45.5 over under. Cats favored by 10. Ben, you said 31-14. You had Cats covering and under. I had Cats winning 28-17. You know what? The Cats would have covered if that ruling, that replay there had not gone the other way, which, by the way, I think we need to discuss that. Gambling is a very big part of what goes on in these college players' lives through no choice of their own. Yeah. These people come at them all the time.
Shout
and now
cash.
I wonder if they're going after the officials for overturning that, because that cost some people some money.
Yeah, I saw Tom Fornelli from the Cover 3 podcast. That's a big college football podcast. He had Sam Houston -9 or 10 or whatever he got the line at, and he tweeted Sam Houston, all caps, 10 exclamation marks, and then 2 minutes later he said no with 0 or with 20 O's and 10 exclamation marks. And so there were definitely a lot of people out there that were not happy about that being a touchdown, but there were also probably a lot of people that were happy it was taken off. So,
well, like, I mean, I'm watching it here and I'm like, man, I don't think you could say his hand was going forward. His arm and elbow, yes. I don't know that you could say his hand was. My wife disagreed. Unfortunately, like always, she's right. Texas Cantina said the bettors hate us. The bettors hate everyone. Yep. Okay.
Shout out Kean Scroggins.
Yeah. There you go. Look at that.
Kean. Shout out to men's basketball. Their season starts in, what is it, almost 5-6 days now at Nevada. I know we're talking football, but
we are going to do that. That's one thing I did want to mention that tonight. I'm glad you brought it up. We'll be back to our regular time next week, Wednesdays at 4:00. And we will be live on all these platforms every Wednesday at 4. Well, most Wednesdays at 4:00 moving forward. And yes, what we're doing next week, especially since it's a bye, is we're going to have a basketball blowout, and we're going to get caught up on everything else. We're going to see where Ben has the men's and women's basketball teams, and then we'll get caught up on all the other cat sports going on.
Yeah, and we'll recap Nevada, probably look ahead to what else is going on with basketball. And I mean, this is kind of along the same lines, but I will be at the Indiana game December 3rd. I'm very excited about that one. So looking forward to seeing the Cats at Indiana.
Oh, so you're traveling to Indiana. Like they're not, Indiana's not.
No, Indiana's not coming to
I couldn't even finish the sentence that they would come to Johnson Coliseum.
No, they're not coming to Johnson. But hey, you never know. I mean,
it could happen.
Bobby Knight and Tech came there one time.
Listen, I want to say this too. Like, you're going to have to up your game if you want to hang around in this state. You know, I mean, you look at what some of these other schools are doing facility-wise and stuff. Tarleton is not only exploding on football, but that basketball program is about to have one of the best facilities for a school that size. And, you know, I mean, they're gonna have to think about some refurbishments or something there. Well, I think.
Well, in my interview with Bobby Williams, that was for our Cat Fund members a month or two ago. The pull-out seats behind the benches are still supposed to be in. I mean, he was saying that the hope was before this season. That's not going to happen, but maybe after this season. And a center-hung scoreboard is still kind of in the works, but that's probably a year or two out. So hopefully you can get those two things in. I think that would really help the environment there and just kind of the overall atmosphere for the stadium.
And back to us disappointing the bettors. Ben, you came in 5-3. You fall 5-4 against the spread. But good news, you improved to 5-4 in the over/under. The news that says do not follow me. I'm 2-7 versus the spread with Cats games this year. And 3-6 over/under. So see what I do and do the opposite. Jason Pluckett says, speaking of hoops, Lamar lost to LSU, Alexandria tonight. I don't know what to make of all that in the preseason and scrimmage stuff, man. Like, I really have a hard time with that with this season.
And speaking of scrimmage stuff with Sam Houston, I'm sure we saw the 63-61 North Texas win the other day. That wasn't necessarily the case. I detailed that in the Cat Fun section the other day, but don't really read too much into that score. I'll just say that.
I don't read anything into any of these scores, right? Like, I mean, when you hear scrimmage, seriously, we go through this in high school football too, right? Like every year, if you follow high school football fans and watch this, I'm telling you, they are the funniest darn people in August, because every time they have a scrimmage, they're going damn defeated. Right? We beat them. No one cares. Right? And then you get into these same people saying that, get in the season, you look at their record right now, and they've got like 0-1 or 1 win. And I'm like, I didn't know scrimmage season means nothing.
No, nothing at all.
Just like, the fall camp scrimmages and spring scrimmages. Can you tell some? Yeah, but you really don't get much out of those.
Especially spring in football.
Oh, God, you don't get anything out of spring.
Yeah, because everybody's out.
Yeah, well, hopefully they fix the portal to where, you can't enter twice in the same season. I wouldn't think. That wouldn't be a good idea.
Right.
But anyway, we have is there anything else you would like to say about this? We'll call it a game.
Yeah, I mean, we got to celebrate Casey Keeler. He's now he is now second all time in program history in wins as a head coach for the football program. He passed Paul Pierce, not the basketball player, the football coach. Paul Pierce was also the head coach when we won the NAIA championship back in '64. So Keeler tied him with the win against FIU, and now he has sole possession of second place with 95 wins, only trailing Ron Randleman. Got a way to go. Randleman is at, I think, 131 wins, but a big shout out to Casey Keeler moving into second all time in program history in wins.
There it is. The people are applauding. Congratulations, Casey. You are tremendous. They just kept going. They wouldn't even stop. They love Casey Keeler so much.
He deserves it.
He does. He definitely deserves it. Ben, we will be back to our regular time and day next week, next Wednesday, 4:00 in the afternoon. And if you miss it then, it'll be on those podcast platforms shortly thereafter.
Yeah, and that's all I got.
Me too. Over. Send it. Hey.
Yep.
Thank you so much to everyone listening tonight. Thank you. Thank you for all the comments. We appreciate it. It helps tremendously when you're trying to do one of these live shows. Thank you so much. And listen, we're going to be back next week. And if you've got comments or questions, submit them then too. Even in our regular shows, we want this fan interaction. Cory Hogue and Ben Sorrells. He's going to take us out. We've got a little bit of a break, but the basketball team has got to go beat Nevada this week. So what you got?
Yeah, eat 'em up, Cats. Let's go to sleep and get ready for some hoops on Monday.
Oh, God, time to sleep.